Hello viewers, welcome to Emmanuel Maths Academy. So today we'll be treating the topic indices. What is indices? Indices is simply the plural of the word index. Index, which means power or exponent. Power or what? Exponent. So what do we do in mathematics of indices? You can say that indices is the study of numbers in regards to what? The power or their exponent. Now, look at what I mean. If you are given x raised to power a, you can say that a is the what? The power. Y, x is what? The base, which is the number, right? So this thing simply means s raised to power a simply means a multiplying itself to what? To a. Now, example, if you are given 3 raised to power 2, this simply means 3 times 3, right? 3 coming twice, right? If you are given 3 raised to power 3, it means 3 times 3 times 3. What about if you are given 3 raised to power 4? It also means 3 times 3 times 3 times 3. That means 3 coming 4 times. Is that right? That means if you are given x raised to power 2 also, x raised to power 2, it means x times x, right? X raised to power 3, x times x times x. If you continue like this, if you have x raised to power n, it means x times x times x to what? To n times. We call it n times. Is that clear? Now, to be able to solve indices problem, we'll consider the rules of indices. Rules of indices. Rules of indices. Now, what is the first rule? The first rule is the multiplication rule of indices, which says 1. If you have x raised to power a times x raised to power b is equal to what? X power a plus b. Is that okay? Because you will notice that if you are given that x raised to, let's assume that a is what? Maybe 4. A is 4. And b is what? And b is what? Maybe b is 3. This simply means x raised to power 4 simply means x times x times x times x, right? Also, this also simply means s times what? X times x 1 2 3 4 1 2 3, right? Now, if you bring all this x, the number of x together, you see that you have 1 2 3 4 5 6 7. That means s raised to power what? 7, right? You notice that s raised to power 7, if you multiply 4 plus 3, you still have 4 plus 3 as what? S raised to power 7. That gives us the first rule of indices, right? The indices, multiplication rule of indices. Now, the second rule says if you have x raised to power a divided by what? X raised to power b is equal to what? S power a minus b, right? This can also be shown here. Maybe if you have s raised to power 4 and s raised to power 3, s raised to power 4 is what? S raised to power 4, s raised to power 3, which is what? X times x times x times x, which is what? S raised to power 3 we have s times x times x. S will cancel x, s will cancel x, s will cancel x, right? You'll be left with what? X. But you will discover that if you subtract 4 from 3, s raised to power 4 minus 3, you still have what? X. x raised to the power 1, but we know in mathematics you don't say x raised to the power 1, you only write x. Discover that it's the same thing as this. This gives us the second rule of indices, right? Now the third rule says if you have s power what? A power b, that's the power of power. Now this is the same thing as what? S raised to power a b. It means that the power will multiply itself. Now that means if you have s raised to power 2 power 3, this is the same thing as what? S raised to power 2 times 3, which is equal to what? S raised to power 6. Is that clear? Now the fourth rule says x raised to power 0 is equal to what? 1, right? This can also be shown using s raised to power 0. Now if you have s raised to power 0, it's the same thing as what? Maybe x raised to power 2 minus 2, right? 2 minus 2, using this law, this second law, it means what? X times x over x times x, from this second law of division, right? Then s will cancel x, s will cancel x, you have what? 1. Consider that x raised to power 0 is 1. That means any number raised to power 0 will give you 1. Then the fifth one says that if you have s power minus n, it's the same thing as what? 1 over s power what? N. Is that clear? The same thing as 1 over s power n. This can also be shown, right? Now if you have s power what? Minus n, it's the same thing as s power 0 minus n, right? Now from the law of this, let's say second law of division, this is the same thing as what? S raised to power 0 over what? S power n. And from this law now, the fourth law, it says that any number raised to power 0 is 1. That means from here you have what? 1 over s raised to power n. If you can see it, the fifth rule of indices. Now the next one says that if you have s raised to power 1 over a, the same thing as what? A root x. Is that clear? And if you also have s raised to power what? B over a, it's the same thing as what? A root what? X all power b. Right? Now the eighth rule says that if you have x and y raised to power what? A, and this is distributive on x and y, which is equal to what? X raised to power a and y raised to power a. And it's also distributive in what? Division. If you have x over y power a, you have a power s power a over y power a. But this is not the case with division and addition, right? I mean, this is not the case when if you have x plus y, it is not the same thing as what? S power a plus y power a. And if you have subtraction, it is not also the same thing, right? Is that clear? Now the ninth one, the ninth rule says that if you have x power a equal to x power b, when two numbers are having the same base, equating each other, now this is the same thing as what? A equal to b. You equate the power, x will cancel x, you now have a equal to b. Is that clear? Is that clear? Now let's solve some example involving indices. Now We are asked to evaluate this. Let's solve this example applying these rules of indices. We are given this to evaluate this. Now, from this, you can see that 81 is the same thing as what? 3 times 3 times 3 times 3, right? That means 81 is the same thing as 3 raised to power what? No, let's say 81 is the same thing as 3 raised to power 4, right? And 27 is the same thing as what? 3 raised to power 3. Now, substituting the value of this and this, where you have 81 and 27, you have what? You have 3 raised to power 4 power 3 over 4 minus 3 raised to power 3 over 1 over 3, right? 3 times what? 2 raised to power 8 will give you what? 2 raised to power 3 will give you what? 2 times 2 times 2, it will give you 8, right? Now from this you have what? Using this rule of what do you call it? Rule of power. This fraction 3 over 4 will come inside. You have 3 times what? 3 times 4, which will give you what? 12 over 4, right? That means 4 will cancel 4. Then here, this one will come inside. You have 3 will cancel 3. We now have 3 raised to power what? 3 minus 3 over 3 times 8. 3 raised to power 3 will give you what? 3 times 3 will give you 9. Then 9 times 3 will give you 27. 27 minus 3 will give you 24. 24 over what? 3 times 8 will give you what? 24. 24 over 24 will give you what? 1. So this whole thing is equal to 1. As simple as that. As simple as that. Now let's solve some more examples.